Good morning, folks. I am your host, BKP, and you're watching BKP Politics on Voice of Rural America.com. Good morning, Diane. Good morning, America. Good morning to everyone over at Facebook watching, YouTube watching. Mark Zuckerberg had to pay $25 million for taking down Trump's account. We'll get into that. So, welcome one and all this morning. Now, aviation. I have a couple friends that are pilots, former military pilots, couple guys I know, retired Delta pilots. Aviation's something I don't quite understand. I always say a prayer that they know who should land and who should take off in the tower. This is no joke. I really do. Every time I go to an airport and I fly, and thank God I do not fly as often as I used to. Really, I used to more than I would like. But anyhow, I go to the airport. I say a prayer of safety that the person in that tower or people, everything's good, pilot's good, so on and so forth. So it is number 8, the tragedy with the helicopter and the American Airlines, and dozens. I don't know if there is a count. This said on CNN this morning, 64 people were on board the American Airlines flight, 3 soldiers on the Army helicopter during the crash. A helicopter went right into this plane at Reagan National Airport there on the Potomac. They are looking for, give me number 9. Apparently, this is the crash site, and they're looking for, hopefully, survivors. A Black Hawk helicopter traveling south along the Potomac River. So, don't know the casualty count. Our prayers are going out to the families and everyone. There's 2 things, and I'm going to move on and get into politics and the Robert F. Kennedy confirmation hearings yesterday, the Laken Riley Act, and several things going on in the administration and maybe even around the world. But first, there's 2 things I can rest assured of. This is not one of the 2 things, okay? But first of all, a tragedy. I thank God this morning Joe Biden is not president of the United States of America. I thank God this morning that Pete Buttigieg, the gay mayor from South Bend, Indiana, don't start on me. It's too early. He's gay. He got married to Chasten. They had 2 children. He pretended like he gave birth in a hospital room. It was sick. It was disgusting. He took time off. He took his family leave, right? So that being said, thank God Joe Biden is not in the White House and Pete Buttigieg is not the transportation secretary. Here's a statement from Donald J. Trump last night. Video 1, the president of the United States not video 1, number 21. Sorry, Diane. The president put this statement out last night. The airplane was on a perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight into the airplane for an extended period of time. It is a clear night. The lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up and down or turn Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good. We're not waiting on a statement from the White House from Joe Biden. That is pretty clear and direct from the President of the United States. So we will see and find out what happened. That is one thing that I rest assured in this morning is the President of the United States is going to get to the bottom of this. And let's see, where is he at here? I had it just a minute ago. The guy was just sworn in. I thought I had it here. Yeah, give me video 15. Sean Duffy, the new Transportation Secretary. Give me video 15.
From this point on, no problem.
And Allie too, if she wants to ride.
$11 last night. Newly sworn in, just sworn in on the job. Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary. So as I opened up, I'm not going to try to expand the discussion on this tragedy. I listened to it on several networks. I watched several videos on X, but just leave it right there. Aviation and what happened, not my wheelhouse. I really wish that at 12 o'clock today, Rush Limbaugh would be coming on because I am so sorry about that. Rush Limbaugh would be coming on because aviation, he could talk airplane. So we pray for all the first responders that are out there trying to rescue. Hopefully it's not a recovery mission yet. Give me number 24, Diane. And I think most of you have watched the video of the plane crash. This is reporting at least 19 dead this morning from the American Airlines plane. 64 were on board. And many of you watched the live video as it took place. And so, again, tragic night. And we pray for those families. Take that down. All right, folks. Trying to look at my screen. Yesterday, the Kennedy confirmation. Now, let me say this. Give me number 4 and then 5. Good morning, Diane. Did I say good morning? Number 4 and 5. Today, Tulsi Gabbard and Kash Patel, both confirmation hearings. We'll talk about that in just a moment. That is happening today. RFK will be there for a second day, RFK Jr. Give me number 7. So before we get started this morning, RFK Jr., I was at the event he announced, and I'm pretty sure it was the event, if memory serves me right, that he announced he would be running as an independent, and I'm pretty sure that happened down here in Georgia, Sandy Springs. So on a Sunday afternoon, he is a candidate for president of the United States. He's a candidate for the presidency of the United States. He's coming to Sandy Springs, Georgia, down here outside of Atlanta. And I said, I'm going to drive down. I want to listen to the guy. I want to hear what he has to say. So I go down there, and they set up 200 chairs. Now, if memory serves me right, they set up 200 chairs. And the guy comes out on stage. Every seat, there wasn't an empty seat. Okay, so if they set up 200 chairs, 200 people were in the audience there in Atlanta on the Sunday afternoon. And he was announcing he would be running as an independent. So before it started, I got there about 2 hours early because I wanted to make sure I talked to everybody coming in. And the majority, and I will tell you this, the majority of the 200 people in the room, there were enormous numbers, okay, medical, health, and medical and health freedom and medical freedom was the number one thing I heard through that entire room. The second thing, they were Trump supporters. I walked up to one right after another. I support Donald J. Trump in 2016 and in 2020, but after COVID, I support, all right, personal health freedom, medical freedom, make America healthy again. So, and he gave 45 minutes, he just gave a really great speech that day. And he was very clear and thorough about the deep state. He was very thorough about the deep state and what we had to do to bring down the deep state, medical freedom. And I left there saying, you know what? I'm pro-life. Now, I did not make a decision to vote for him for president, but I'm pro-life, and I like what he's bringing to the table. Then, Cally and Casie, I forget their last names, brother and sister, right, Diane? Cally and Casie. So, Tucker Carlson goes, Cally and Casie met with RFK, and Tucker Carlson goes to RFK and said, look, you need to endorse Donald Trump. And RFK said basically he has to meet with Cally and Casie, and then I will meet with him. And if he will sign on to Make America Great Again, and if he will sign on the medical freedom and what we have to do in this country, the pesticides, our food, what we're doing to our children, the drug companies, the list goes on, we'll go from there. So I watched the entire interview. I told you here, I asked you to go to Tucker Carlson, watch Cally and Casie as a brother and sister, right? Amazing doctors. And I am pro-life. This is where I'm going with this. I'll get to the point. There's people out there saying, will you please get to the point? I am pro-life. I am pro-life. I support RFK Jr. for HHS secretary thoroughly and completely. I have watched personally myself, people surrounding me. I've watched children. There's the easiest way to say there's something different. I've looked at, I've experienced children with autism, and no one ever talks about the health of our children. These evil people yesterday that attacked him over and over, there's never anything about the health and welfare of our kids. So that being said, I'm going to get into a lot of video yesterday, but I thoroughly support RFK Jr. I don't care if he was a Democrat. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care RFK and JFK. I don't care about the Kennedys. I don't care. Ted Kennedy is dead. He's a piece of garbage. I don't care. I care about our children, and he has convinced me that his goal is to make America healthy again. HHS Secretary, Health and Human Services. Now, he has been attacked for his pro-choice stance. He has been attacked for being pro-choice. But something I picked up yesterday is he's very clear where Donald Trump stands on abortion. Very clear. And he's very clear that his job as HHS secretary is to carry out the Trump administration's agenda. And they know that. They know that. You bring these people up here, it's like Marco Rubio. I don't know. I know there's a lot of pushback where Marco Rubio is concerned. But the State Department is supposed to carry out the Trump administration's agenda. Every one of them. And he convinced me yesterday that he will carry out the Trump administration agenda. He will not go rogue. He will support President Trump. I want to remind you of something before we go on with this candidate. This is the former 32. You take some time and look this up, okay? This is Xavier Bercerra. Xavier Bercerra was the Health and Human Services HHS secretary for Joe Biden. Zero experience, medical, anything. Zero experience. None. Just would work well with the pharmaceutical industry and the NGOs. Zero. You never heard anything about this guy for 4 years, really. But guess what? He became HHS secretary with a vote. A vote. Number 34. So Biden got his HHS secretary with this vote right here. Just remind you right now, Susan Collins. Susan Collins. That's how he got his vote. Now, number 33. This was the assistant HHS secretary. Okay? This was the assistant HHS secretary. I just want some clarification for some of this stuff. Now, Richard here, who thought or goes through life, I wonder what he thinks now, knowing Donald Trump has cleared up his gender. Okay? But this is the former HHS secretary. Now, we're going to listen to Raphael Warnock say he can't vote. He claims to be a reverend, Raphael Warnock. He is a devil's helper, demonic man in a pulpit. Get the hell out of that church today. And do not call him Reverend Raphael Warnock. Probably shouldn't have went there. But this is a man. Raphael Warnock can't vote for RFK because he said he referred to CDC as Nazis. Now, I want to remind you, Assistant HHS Secretary, there are a large number of executive orders that President Donald Trump has signed. 2 genders. He was pushing something else in your schools. 2 genders, right? Hormone therapy, transitioning. You think of all the executive orders that Donald Trump has signed this week. Give me number 13, Diane. Here's an executive order ending radical indoctrination in K through 12 schooling. Executive order signed January 29th, 2025. Now, could you go back to Richard, number 33? This was the assistant HHS secretary. This is the assistant HHS secretary that if, no pun intended, we dodged a bullet. Donald Trump's not the only one in America that dodged a bullet. If Kamala Harris would have been elected, transitioning your children, this person right here wanted to start your children on hormone therapy at 12 years old and wanted to make it universal across every school in America. That's right. So every time you sit there and you see RFK Jr. and these crazy people, they are crazy. We do have a mental health crisis in America. It's called Democrats. We do. A serious mental health crisis. And thank God Donald Trump is trying to correct it immediately. Now, let me remind you one more thing, because I want to remind you of this before we go any further with RFK Jr. Now, this individual was confirmed by who? 2 votes this time, number 34. Susan Collins, 34. And number 35, Lisa Murkowski. Go look up the vote. These are the 2 votes. Just stop and think about it. Now, these Democrats yesterday, they act as though they're concerned about Medicaid. They act as though they're concerned about programs that benefit the poor. Unless they act like they're concerned about polio. They act like they're concerned about tuberculosis and other diseases in this country. Unless 35 million, maybe, cross the border, unvaccinated, cross the border, you put their children in schools. I keep hearing every day Take that down. I can't stand the sight of any of these. Give me, go ahead. Go and look. They put these kids in school. The teachers' unions across America have put together a plan to train you how to avoid ICE and not work with ICE when they come to the school. Yes, a plan. Stay away from ICE and to avoid them and avoid the law. Do you know how many children you put in school over the past several years with no vaccination record? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, they may say, oh, that's not true, but oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes. You take a kid to school, you will have that vaccination record right there before that kid goes to school. You take an illegal 5-year-old to school, nobody speaks English, that kid will be in school before the end of the day. And then what they'll do is they'll send them over to where? They'll send that kid over to your health department that you pay the taxes for, and they'll deem that kid indigent over at your health department, and they will give those kids all the shots and everything they need while you pay for it. And they're in school. The evil lurks among us. And thank God Donald Trump is highlighting this on a daily basis without fear of them. That's why I have no fear of them. If Donald Trump can have no fear of them, so will I. Now, before I want to get into the RFK, let me go with this. Number 2, Bob Menendez got 11 years in prison. Got 11 years in prison. We're going to talk about the Federal Reserve. They would not cut the interest rate. I want to talk about that a little later in the show. But Donald Trump, number 37, signed the Laken Riley Act yesterday, and with her parents there. Thank God for, and I want to give a special shout out today. Trump signs the Laken Riley Act into law. Number 20, Mike Collins. I want to give a special shout out, America. Why don't you say thank you to the congressman from the 10th District of Georgia, Mike Collins. He is the guy on the far next to the guy in the red tie. You got the gray hair like mine. Got it going on there. Mike Collins, Congressman Mike Collins from the 10th District. That Laken Riley, that was in his district. He sponsored the Laken Riley Act, and want to say how much we appreciate him. Buddy Carter from Georgia is in the red tie. Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones is pretty much center right there, blue shirt right there. Then next to him is Brian Jacks. Is it Brian Jack or Jacks? I got to look that up. Brian Jack, I think it is. Brian Jack. The new congressman from the 3rd District of Georgia. Next, the thumbs up, always thumbs up. That's the 9th District Congressman Andrew Clyde. And Georgia Speaker of the House, John Burns, needed some photo ops up there. And that's John Burns. I don't know where Brandon Beach is. I heard he was going, State Senator Brandon Beach. But those are several from Georgia that were up there yesterday. But the Laken Riley Act, God bless Donald Trump for signing that yesterday. Now, trying to think if I want to go into immigration. I got a lot on RFK. Go ahead and give me 36, Diane. Did I say good morning, Diane? If I did. Now, as we are horror in the sky, airline, jet, and Black Hawk chopper, deadly crash. That's a New York Post. Go ahead and take that down. Let me remind you of something. Here's what we're going to do. We'll take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to go into the crisis on the border, and then we'll go into RFK because there's some things I want to highlight. But as we go to break, don't forget, with Kash Patel coming up today, Tulsi Gabbard coming up today, all right? Give me number 41. Tulsi Gabbard, Kash Patel, with RFK's confirmation here, with us trying to get votes. Don't forget the 4 Senate seats that were stolen on election month 2025. Wisconsin, Michigan, Nevada, and Arizona. We should have 4 more Republican senators. And Donald Trump has told you, right? Donald Trump has told you that Democrats are really good at what? Cheating and rigging elections. So don't forget, we lost 4 Senate seats that were stolen in the last election. So every time you talk about, hey, Donald Trump won, keep in mind, every time we're having to worry about Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, the Senate seats that were stolen from us. All right, take a break. We'll be right back. Good morning. Good morning. Glad to have you. Bob Menendez doing 11 years. Gold Bar Bob from New Jersey. And when we come back, where is Elon Musk resting his head these days? Take a break.